y'all responded to the call.
Officer Reggie Fluty.
When I got there, first, the only thing I could see was partially somebody's feet. So I got out of my vehicle, I raced over. I seen what appeared to be a young man, 13, 14, lying on his back, tied to the bottom of the pole because he was so tiny. I did the best I could. The young gentleman, Matthew Shepard, he was covered in blood. There was blood underneath him, and he was barely breathing. He was doing the best he could. I was going to breathe for him, but I couldn't get his mouth open. His mouth wouldn't open for me. He was covered, like I said, in partially dry blood all over his head and his face. The only place on his face that he did not have any blood was where it appeared that he had been crying down his face. His head was distorted, you know. It did not look normal. It looked like he had a real heart